Hey everybody, welcome to the first video in a new series that's dedicated entirely to axe and knife throwing. We're going to be talking about everything from beginner axe and knife throwing techniques all the way up to super advanced trick shots. We're going to be interviewing some of the top knife and axe throwers in the world and hopefully even a celebrity or two. So pick up your axes and sharpen your knives. This is Hilt over Handle.
Hilt over Handle.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hilt over Handle. I'm your host Trevor James, and today's episode is all about the basics of knife throwing. The first part we're going to talk about here is probably the most important part, and that is the grip. The first grip I'm going to show you today is called the hammer grip. The hammer grip is exactly as it sounds. You grip the knife the same as you would a hammer. The tip of the knife is right at the edge of your hand with the fingers and thumb wrapped around. The knife is held perpendicular to your arm. That means at a 90 degree. I think. I don't know. I failed math. The knife is going to come over your shoulder just like this. As you bring it down, you're going to put a very slight snap in the wrist to make sure it rotates enough to hit the target. Just like this. Now the grip that I typically use when I compete, I like to call a modified hammer grip. It's a little bit different in that I put my thumb about 2 inches up from the tip of the blade and pinch it between the forefinger just like this. The tip goes into the meat of your palm with your 3 fingers wrapped all the way around. From here, everything is kept nice and straight. There's no snap on the wrist at all. Okay? Bring it up and down, let it go, and follow through. So those are the 2 basic grips that you can use. Now, of course, if these 2 grips don't work for you, I encourage you to modify them until the point that they do. There is no right way to throw a knife. To paraphrase Antonio Banderas in The Mask of Zorro, as long as the pointy end goes into the other man.
Do you know how to use that thing?
Yes. The pointy end goes into the other man.
That's all that matters. So make it work for you. Next, we're going to talk about distance. All right, now we're going to talk about distance. Distance. So as you can see on the floor here, I have little red lines that mark out the number of meters away from the target. Okay? Now this is the easy part. If you're an even number of meters away from the target, you hold the knife by the blade. If you're an odd number, you throw it by the handle. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, it is, except now you have to also factor in your body type. I'm 6'1" and I have a pretty long wingspan, so I need to step just a little bit back from the line in order to make my knife stick. Those of you that are a little bit shorter, you may have to step a little bit closer. This is just one of those things you have to figure out, okay? Now, when you throw the knife, I want you to pay attention to when you miss. If you throw and the knife hits this way with the handle up against the target, that means that it over-rotated. So you're standing a little bit too far back. Take a step forward. If you're throwing it and the blade hits up, that means you're too close. The blade didn't have enough time to rotate over. Take a half a step back. Moving just as little as 6 inches will make all the difference in your throw. As well, pay attention to the snap of your wrist. See if you're really snapping your wrist or not snapping it enough. This again can be corrected by stepping forwards or back just a little bit. Well, there you have it, guys. All the basics you need to know in order to get started in knife throwing. Now it's time to put in the work. A few hundred hours and a few thousand throws, and you'll be a world champion in no time.
Hilt over Handle.